Today we will be taking a closer look at this incredible, phenomenal module called DLD, which stands for Dual Looping Delay, made by well-known American company 4MS. As the name implies, it's a delay, it's a looper, and it's dual. We have two channels of pristine quality digital delay. Each of the delay lines, A and B, it's capable of recording up to 3 minutes of sound with 16 beats and 48 kilohertz resolution. You can also record it in 24-bit, but then the time gets halved. Now it could serve as a standard vanilla delay, so you could patch it up so it's 2 mono delays, or 1 stereo delay, or 1 cascading delay. But now I would like to explain how it works, all the basics. The only thing you need to understand before we proceed is the routing of the whole thing. Channel A input is normal to channel in B, which means whatever you feed in here is going straight into here, unless you patch something into the in B. Then it goes back to channel A out. So if you want to use only this channel, we should patch it, the signal, into the channel B input and channel B output. I want to use only the B channel for now, for the sake of clarity. Every control on channel B is exactly the same on channel A. Now let's start with the basic controls. First of all, the heart of this module is the master clock, so-called ping. Now you can tap tempo this thing, or you could plug a trigger or a gate into the ping, and it's gonna sync to the external clock. Next to the clock you have the time knob. This knob sets how long the delay is going to be, or how long the loop is going to be, meaning it sets the length of the loop according to the beats. And by beat I mean each strike of the clock right here. So if I set it to 2, for example, or I set it to 4, the loop is going to be 4 beats long. Now you see the switch right here, right? It affects the knob. If you switch it to the lower position, it's going to divide the beat by 8. Now if you're going to switch it to upper position, you get additional 16 beats to whatever you choose here. So if I choose 2, for example, the length of the loop is going to be 18. That's how it works. But for now, we're just going to stick to the middle position, which reflects what's going on here exactly. Lower, you have the feedback knob. Does what it says. So it controls feedback, so the amount of the delays that are fed back to the unit. Below, you have delay feed, meaning amount of signal that is being recorded onto the buffer. So if you want to record anything, you have to turn it up. Dry, wet signal, standard, doesn't need to be described, easy. Now let's take a look at the buttons. The hold button and reverse button. Reverse button is pretty easy. It just reverses the audio. One thing to remember about this is that if you record something into the buffer while this is pressed, and then it's going to be played back in reverse, then it is going to be played back effectively in a normal way, so forwards. You effectively double reverse it, so you make it played forward. Hold holds the captured sound, which makes recording of new layers impossible. But what you get is so-called windowing, which I will show you in a second. Now you have CV inputs for controlling the reverse and hold buttons. Now you also get a standard send and return, so you can send the affected processed sound to external module, for example like Belgrade filter, then it's fed back to the unit, filtered or processed by some other modules. You also can control the feedback knob and, more importantly, the delay feed, which allows you to engage the recording with the aid of external manual gate, for example, or some touch plate. Let's start moving some knobs and recording some stuff so I can show you how it works. If I want to engage the delay, I have to turn up the delay feed. Okay. Here we change the time, feedback, nothing special. Okay. Okay. You can achieve some really fast divisions. If I tap tempo and I switch the division switch right here, you get some almost Karplus-Strong delays. One important thing, if you feed a square oscillator in here, you can transform this module into a Karplus-Strong, resonance monster, which I will also show you in a second. Now, what you notice here on the feedback scale, we have 100% and 110. If you leave it on 100%, you make the loop effectively infinite. And whatever you do here on time is going to be reflected, because all the changes I do to the time are fed back on and on all the time. You also have a 110 mark right here, which makes this blossoming delay kind of dubby delay effect. So it grows more and more and more into distortion. Okay? Okay, that's how it works. What you have seen here, I have used this knob to engage recording, but it's a lot easier to engage the recording with external switch. What I have here, I have connected a manual gate. So whenever I press a gate, I engage the recording. I tapped some fairly nice tempo, and let's record some really bad beatboxing. Okay, now instead of holding it here with the 100%, we're gonna hold it here with the hold button. Now what it does, it disables any recording, so I won't be able to record anything else. Even if I turn up the delay feed up to max and I'm talking to the mic right now, nothing gets recorded. It's disabled, which means whatever I do to this knob is not going to be reflected in the processed audio. I can fiddle with it, play, and I can always come back to the original loop. If I want to change the start of the loop, I use time knob. If I want to change the end of the sample, I'll simply press reverse and again time. But the coolest part is the windowing option. It's kind of like granular scrubbing technique. If you hold the hold button and move the feedback, you can sort of move the virtual playhead through the virtual digital splice of tape. Okay? If you want to move to another splice of tape, you'll simply move the feedback to 100% and hold and turn the feedback to 0. If you want to move to another splice, you do the same thing. 100% to max, press hold, and go back, for example. And now press, and you can move through this splice. Of course, you can move in bigger increments if you set the switch to a middle position. And if you tap it for a really fast clock and switch it to the lower position, now you can do some really granular scrubbing. Okay, some really weird sounds, and you can do it to both channels. Now the best part is, for example, if you want to stay in this kind of high resolution and this clock is ticking really fast and you want to save this clock only to this channel, what you would do, you would freeze the pink, and you do that by holding the hold button and pressing pink. Now this clock is frozen for this channel, so if I, for example, if I want to use this channel with some other clock, I could do that. See, nothing changed. So channel B stays with the faster clock, channel A has a different clock which could also respond to external sync clock. So now that you have seen how a single channel works on this beast, let's try to combine both channels and see what we could do with them. And for that purpose, let's get back to the initial setup I have shown you at the beginning of the video when I was demoing the whole thing. I have connected microphone to channel B. Channel A is a loop coming off from machine drum. Nothing is plugged into out B, so the signal goes back to out A, and from here it goes out to the mixer. So let's capture a loop from machine drum. I do that with the aid of external trigger, so I won't have to turn up the delay feed as I showed you before. Let's do that right now. Okay, so we have captured a loop. The tempo does not match to machine drum tempo, so you can see it's all wonky, all crazy. I did it on purpose so I can show you how you could turn a random loop to something rhythmic and meaningful musically. What I will do, I'll just press hold right now. We capture this, and let's try a little windowing with here. So I press hold and try to catch something meaningful. This is kind of a swingy, a little crazy beat, so let's leave it on that for this channel. And let's record some crazy, really bad beatboxing on channel B. So I press a manual switch again and proceed. Let's try to overdub maybe. And let's try to do something with that, okay? I press hold, so I capture the loop. And let's switch the resolution switch to some lower resolution, and let's try some little windowing. Maybe longer. It's crazy beat, really. Now, let's say I would like to make it alive, maybe a bit more. I could, for example, control the reverse of this channel with the clock output of channel A. So I just make a little patch. So each time the loop starts here, it's triggering the reverse button on channel B. So you can already hear we get some really interesting variations. Now these reverse and hold buttons can be quantized to the next clock, which is really useful when you're using this with some other modules and when you're synchronizing the whole thing with the external clock. So for example, if I catch the loop again from machine drum, I just press the switch. If I want to enable the quantizing of hold and reverse buttons, what I would do is I would hold both reverse and press pink. And you can see it all blink 3 times. If you want to disengage it, you do the same thing. Hold reverse buttons and pink. Now it blinked faster, meaning it's disengaged. But now let's engage it again. So bang, it's engaged. Now if I press reverse, watch this LED right here. It's going to be engaged again exactly with the next clock. Same with disengaging. The hold button again. See? It's engaged and disengaged in sync with the ping, with the clock. Really useful function. Of course, I have not mentioned it before, you have a master clock out right here, so it could go to different parts of modules, different, sequencers. You can trigger off some envelopes of this 2 separate channel clocks. So these clocks give out a trigger each time the loop starts. So it's also really useful for synchronizing different things in your system. As I told you before, this module has some great possibilities as it goes for Karplus-Strong sounds. So you can excite some percussive sounds, or noise will also do. with some fast clock, which I have applied right here. It's best to feed a square wave in here that goes somewhere around 250-500 Hertz. That's the best area. And the key for achieving those sounds here is to be in saddle. You really have to watch out for the right amount of right oscillation, right clock, and the speed of the time knob right here. Also, you control resonance, amount of resonance with this knob right here with feedback, and gain of the resonance with delay feed. So that's the dry sound right here. This is how it sounds like. I'm using a percussive sound, a snare from Mutant Snare module, and that's the dry sound. As I increase the wet sound, that's how it sounds. I'm moving the frequency on my oscillator, the square wave, and even the tiny movements, you can hear changing of the timbre of the sound. Okay? Now, same happens when I fiddle here with time. It falls apart. So you really have to be really careful with those things. And we go back to the Karplus-Strong. It's really good to switch the resolution switch to down position, so you can get even sharper, spiky sounds. Okay, and again, I fiddle with the oscillator to achieve different timbres. Alright, this special plucky, stringy sound. So if you don't have a delay and you only want to have one delay in your system, that's the one to get currently. I mean, I have a dual delay by Modcon, which is also great, but this is another level. And even if you have a delay in your system already, this is so much fun and so so deep that still I recommend it to anyone, really. It's not cheap, but great things don't come cheap. Try it. Do yourself a favor. Thank you very much. Till next time.